I recently went viral for having $30,000 in credit card debt, and it even got picked up by Newsweek. There was an article featuring my credit card debt. And throughout the comments, a lot of people have been recommending different, financial gurus. And of course, people have been recommending Dave Ramsey. So here is why I do not subscribe to Dave Ramsey's snowball effect and his approach in general. So for starters, the entire premise of his plan hinges on having extra money to put towards. So you pay off everything. You pay your bills, you pay all your credit cards, you pay all your debts. And then any extra money you have, stop right there. Who the has extra money? So then he's like, aha, yes, if you don't have extra money, get a second job, get a third job, eat rice and beans. That's actually something I joined a Dave Ramsey private Facebook group. People all the time reference rice and beans, rice and beans. I'm sorry. I'm not willing to do anything to get out of debt. I'm not willing to eat rice and beans every day. I'm not willing to have 3 jobs and not spend time with my children. I'm not willing to forego my favorite salad on a Friday when I feel like getting one. My bills and my debt is so tremendous that $20 here, $100 there is not making an impact. The cost of living and low wages is to blame for the financial woes of most Americans. And being told that we can incrementally make these big differences if we just give up our quality of life for 5-10 years is absurd. I turned my $30,000 in credit card loans into a loan consolidation with an 8% interest rate. We're paying about $1,500 a month to pay that off. And it's painful because every month I'm like, wow, what could we have done with that $1,500? But I am not willing to eat rice and beans. I am not willing to have a night job. My mental health and my quality of life is more important to me than paying off that debt. And that doesn't make me a bad person.
Right. I'm not gonna lie, it was so hard for me not to say nothing because there's so much that I want to talk about from what she just said. Let's talk about a few pieces that stood out.
I'm not willing to do anything to get out of debt.
Okay, I want to first start by saying I understand that she wants to go out and live her life and eat her salads and do all the things she wants to do. But honestly, people have a lot more power than they like to give themselves credit for. And it's really sad to hear I'm not willing to do anything to get out of debt. Like anything? And I know there's a lot of factors that come into play when it comes to people's finances and why they're in the situation they're in. But when it comes to your mindset, just hearing an unwillingness to adapt, an unwillingness to change, to make effort, that's really scary. That's dangerous. I'd even go as far as to say that's destructive. Whatever you did to get yourself in the situation you're in is probably because there isn't a willingness to change, a willingness to adapt, a willingness to do the things that she says she doesn't want to do. And I understand that's her prerogative and she has every right. But I want us just to consider what good comes out of standing still and doing nothing and not willing to change and not willing to adapt. A lot of times people are having conversations about what they feel they shouldn't have to do. And we see them in real life acting on the thoughts that they really feel like they shouldn't have to do it and they just don't do it. And we see these people end up in bad situations later in the future. I went and checked her profile. This video is a year old. And I was like, oh, so why y'all sending me old stuff? But when I did some more digging, I seen that the financial journey ended up taking a turn. Another thing that stood out was she said she doesn't subscribe to the Dave Ramsey snowball method, which, her prerogative once again. The Dave Ramsey snowball method is controversial with a lot of people. They don't believe in it. They say, hey, that puts me in a bad situation because I'm spending all my money putting it towards my debt. And I can understand where they're coming from with that. She clearly doesn't want to attack all her debt at once and delay any gratification. So that method would not work for somebody like that. But just think about it like this. That method is not the end all be all. What works well for one person may not work well for you in your situation. But ask yourself this. What is the plan? Because when she said nothing, I'm like, okay, well, you don't have to subscribe to the Dave Ramsey rhetoric if you don't like it. But what do you subscribe to? Right? And I think that this is an important conversation because so many times do I hear people say, well, I'm not able to do that and I shouldn't have to get a job and I shouldn't have to get a side hustle. And even if I get a side hustle, they won't pay enough. And then I have kids and I have daycare and I have a mortgage and I like to go shopping and I like vacation. Okay, I get it. For all the people out there with a rebuttal to any sort of help, I just want you to think about your situation, not hers, yours, and say, hey, what can I do that will work for me? Is there a plan that I can follow to get me in financial success? But do something. Don't just keep digging yourself in a hole because you want your favorite Caesar salad and you got to tip the waitress. Now, as this story progresses, she ended up commenting on somebody who said, is there a video where you explain how you got this much in debt? Because inquiring minds want to know.
So first I want to say that I live in LA, so there's a very high cost of living here. So like gas, groceries, rent, everything is a lot more expensive. So in 2020, I got pregnant with our second son. My husband and I were both probably making a little under six figures, like probably around $90,000 a year. We were good. We were gold. We were set. We planned to have that baby. All the bills were fine. We had like a couple charges on our credit cards, maybe up to like $2,000 at certain points, but we paid it off. I mean, it wasn't an issue.
Right.
I'd also paid off my hospital bills and like different things that it just wasn't really impeding on our life. Then 2020 hit, the hit, my husband lost his salary and I was pregnant. So I knew that I was going to be like done working and that I would need to pivot, find a new job, find childcare, and like all of those things just became completely unavailable. So my husband was working like 80 hours a week, doing 2 under the table jobs, getting paid less than he was getting paid before. I stopped working when my son was born in October of 2020. Essentially, I put all of our groceries, all of our bills, except for rent, onto credit cards. And like, again, could I have made smarter choices? Sure. Could I have like not done Christmas gifts for my 3-year-old and my infant? Like, sure, I could have.
They're not going to remember. Let me not go there today.
But at the end of the day, like spending that $50, $100 here and there to like make our lives still feel kind of manageable or feel enjoyable was worth it to me.
You know what really be doing people in? It's the money you're not even considering that you're spending. You're like, that little $50, that little $100 ain't going to do nothing here and there. That here and there adds up. If you do here and there $100 for some knick-knack, just do that 10 times. That's $1,000 in a month. And if you did that on a credit card with like 27% APR or something even worse, because some people have it higher than that, and you know you don't have the $1,000 to pay it back within the billing cycle, guess who's getting hit with that interest, and guess who's not going to pay it because it's just not a big deal anyway. So guess what? You do it again. And the next time you do it for the family trip. Oh, then it's so-and-so's birthday. And then it was Easter. And then it was Valentine's Day. There's always going to be something that you're going to be like, hey, it was just this. No, it's not just that. That's the problem with a lot of people's mindset. And that's why I say the mindset has to change. If you don't see a problem, there's going to be a problem in the future because this money is not just growing on trees to where you can just go grab you some more. All that this is acquiring debt. What would really fix a lot of these issues that people have is a true budget, an honest budget where you say, this is the income we have coming in every month. Whether you decide to go get some more or not, that's your prerogative. Do what you do. But whatever you have and whatever your monthly expenses are, you look at that. You take the expenses and you subtract it from the income that you know you get every single month. If you go get some more income, congratulations. You probably can spend more money because that's just how math works. See, the thing is, we're getting away from the basics. Math is math. And whether we like to acknowledge it or not, it's very simple. You must live on less than you make or you end up in debt. Specifically for the people who are swiping their credit card, knowing that they don't have that money and they're just like, hey, it's like, I should be able to do what I want. You're running up more debt. And the reason I need to point that out is because you can use a credit card responsibly, y'all. Some people are using it just for the points, for air miles or whatever they're doing, paying it off before the end of their billing cycle. Y'all are not doing the same thing, though. You might as well just clock yourself into work, clock your husband into work, clock whoever is making the money to pay off the credit cards into work because that's where they're going to be, unless there's some change. Because once you owe debt on money that you really didn't have, you have to think about how many hours does it take you to acquire that money. Let's just say it was $1,000 and you get $20 an hour. Just visualize this. You want to know what you just did? You just clocked yourself in for 50 hours at work. Some of y'all can't stand that job. You can't wait for your off day. But no, that's the only way that debt is going to get paid off is if you clock in overtime. Because guess what? You got to still pay your rent. You got to pay your car note. You got all the other things that you've been had, but you went and overspent. This is a spending issue. This is probably also a budgeting issue. You're probably not even paying attention to it. Now tell me, for all the people who hate work, why would you do that when you already don't like being in that place in the first place? Is whatever you bought that you said is not a big deal because $1,000 is easy to spend in this economy. It's easy to spend, period. Is it worth it for whatever you spending your money on? And if you say yeah, then more power to you. Like, if you want to spend your time working to go get that money, go do it. But I think a lot of people just aren't visualizing what it actually means to be in debt. You are clocking future you in at work. You are clocking future you in at that Uber, that DoorDash, that Grubhub, whatever it is, your side hustle that you can't stand doing. Future you is going to have to do extra because the you in the present right now wants to do what they want to do. Just think about it.
The debt also just spiraled because it was on so many cards and it was just really getting hard to keep control over. So when I got my new job, I was given a debt consolidation loan through the credit union. And so I'm paying that off now. I do have student loan debt that I don't even really think about because I'm just what is even going on with that politically? And I also have a car payment, but all of my interest rates are between 3 and 8%, which is a steal. So I'm really not complaining that much. And I also believe that debt is kind of a part of life and it's always going to be there a little bit. And I could slave away to pay this all off today, and then tomorrow my son gets cancer and I'm $100,000 in medical debt. You never know what's going to happen.
We got to stop thinking about the worst case scenario and think about the most probable scenarios for our lives. A lot of people I talk to that just want to have an excuse, they'll find an excuse to be irresponsible. I don't know what it is. They will tell you the worst thing they can think of. They'll say stuff like, I knew somebody that had this tragic incident and they were only 23. Ma'am, you're in your 30s. I knew somebody whose kids had this go on and then it wiped them clean. You don't even have children. Granted, all of these things are horrible and I wouldn't wish them on anybody. My whole thing is, why is it instead of us just looking at what we can control, we think about these hypothetical terrible, tragic instances, and we use those as an excuse not to do what we know we should do. That's not an excuse. You're just looking for a reason and something to say, hey, well, this could happen. No, what is happening? What is happening in your life? And I'm not just talking about her. I'm not specifically saying this about this lady. What is happening in your life that we have evidence, that we have factual proof is not working for you? And why aren't we addressing what we can do about that instead of all these hypotheticals? That is a serious problem that a lot of people have. Something must be in the water because she's not the only person. You'd be surprised in the comments how many people out here, young folks, I'm 63, live life for now. You're talking to people that are 17, 18-year-old in the comments telling them don't worry about nothing in the future. Yeah, because that's very smart. These will be the people when they get older looking around for a handout, looking around for somebody to help them and to save them because they had this YOLO mentality. I'm not saying your life can't have balance because it can. Why can't we have balance? Why can't we enjoy our lives and still be responsible? We are acting as if it's an anomaly to do both because honestly, too much of anything is probably not good for us. Too much of not caring probably isn't too good, and too much caring and not having that balance of, hey, can I enjoy my life? Because let's face it, we're all getting old. That's probably not good either. So it may be wise to meet in the middle, but it's not wise to just put your head in the sand and be like, hey, I'm not doing nothing. Think about your life 20 years from now, 10 years from now, and ask yourself, if you have that mentality, honestly, how is that going to pan out for you? And before we get into the next one, I gotta say, debt is not a way of life. Can y'all stop with the nonsense online? There is good debt and there's bad debt, things that are appreciating in value. If you have things that are depreciating, why is that good debt? If you have real estate, maybe that is good debt if you have a mortgage. Results may vary, of course, but when we're talking about consumer debt for stuff like this, some hair scrunchies, this little magnifying glass, a phone, whatever it is that is depreciating in value, the only reason why I can even piece in my head that might be good is because people feel good about how they feel having the things. They are worth less and less every day. Why would this be good? And why would it ever be normal to just have things and keep buying things and say, hey, that's okay because we're all just supposed to be in debt and that's normal? No, you can budget for the things you want. If you want a new phone, you can budget for the phone and just go get the phone. This comment here says, listen, I started putting money aside regardless of what needed to be paid, with an exception of rent, then made small payments towards bills. I refuse to have anxiety or not having money to feed myself. And I agree, you should have your basic necessities met, food, but that doesn't mean you have to eat lobster and shrimp. Some of y'all just overdo it. Y'all don't have to have that type of food. Let me go ahead.
I am heavy on this mindset right now. If it is not rent, if it is not keeping the lights on, if it is not food, then it is not my number one priority. Making sure that I have ample money, a liberal amount of money for those things, then savings, then debt. A lot of people are seeing this and thinking that I'm not paying off my debt. I have a consolidation loan. The debt's getting paid off. I'm just not in a hurry about it. So many people on this app are trying to gain a following from oh, I paid off my mortgage and I paid off this. Okay, ew, my debt's going to get paid off.
I'm honestly trying to grasp the concept of how paying off debt is ill. that's gross. That's repulsive. Not being buried in debt, struggling, having a family you need to take care of, that's not the repulsive part. It's actually being responsible. It's giving teenager. Actually, no, it's giving more like elementary, because have you ever talked to a kid and said, hey, eat your vegetables? You know you're telling them to eat the vegetables because it's good for them. They need nutrients. They need vitamins. But they want to eat candy and they want to drink juice all day. And you're trying to tell them, hey, drink some water. Eat your broccoli. You can't just be eating chicken nuggets because they're processed and fried. And they're like, ew, broccoli, ew, water, no sugar. That's how I feel listening to this. It's kind of odd because this is an older woman. So I'm like, girl, you do know that that's good for you, right? Paying off debt is good for people. So if they want to get online and celebrate, I'm not mad at them celebrating, but it's not ew. That's wild to me.
Ew. My debt's going to get paid off. And hopefully it stays. Hopefully I don't have any life emergencies where I need to acquire debt again. But like, and I think a lot of people who spend all of their money paying off their student loan debt, they pay off their mortgages, like, and then what? Yes, maybe you have some more financial freedom. But honestly, a lot of these people, their mortgages were like $1,000, $1,500, and like that. Anyway, whatever. The debt payoff won't feel so free to those of us who let everything else slide. So what's important is the roof over my head, the food in my stomach, and the electricity in my house.
You know, and it's fine and dandy that she's prioritizing what she thinks. But here's the thing. Why is it that certain things get prioritized with paying money for, but when people go out in the marketplace, they have these other priorities in their head of like what is important? Like, I'm going to be able to go to Lululemon. You don't need Lululemon. You don't need to be doing all these other things. You're going to prioritize you spending money and doing what you want that makes you feel good in the moment or what satisfies you, but you won't prioritize being responsible and paying back those things that you bought. It's almost like saying, hey, if it's not important, I'm just going to swipe my credit card because it's not important, but I'm going to make sure my bills and all my necessities and everything that is important is paid. Why don't you just not go get the things that aren't important? Because now they're adding up. You're getting more into debt. Instead of just saying no, you go get more card and you do more swiping. And I understand that a lot of this can cause stress and anxiety, which is what she said. So I'm like, if it's causing stress and anxiety, then why don't we come up with a plan to stop doing the things that's causing you stress and anxiety? This reminds me of something I dealt with in real life. When my daddy passed away, I was grieving, y'all. And when I grieve, at first I lost a lot of weight. Weight just was dropping off because I wasn't eating, right? I was sad. And you know what I did next? I went from not eating to being just eating too much. I just was eating and eating. Knew it wasn't good for me. Didn't care. I just wanted to feel good because I was that sad. I was that down in the dumps. Like when I say that broke my heart, I was crushed. But the truth is this. I was eating fast food. I was eating the Chick-fil-A's. Like, I lost count how much times I went to Chick-fil-A in that time frame. I was eating out, eating stuff I know I have no business eating. I normally don't eat like that. But I was doing it out of comfort, out of that same feel-good energy that I wanted, that I think a lot of people get when they're shopping. All for what to happen? For the weight to just stick to me because I'm 32. I can't eat like I'm 19. I can't eat like that no more. And so when I looked down, this weight stuck to me. And I said, dang. I got to do better. So if I didn't change my eating habits and start getting more active and get out of this thing I'm in and make a plan and make some change, y'all wouldn't be able to see my cheekbones. Y'all wouldn't be able to see that line. Y'all wouldn't be able to see none of that because I had a double chin and it was bad. If whatever you're doing is giving you adverse reactions and adverse effects that you don't want, you can't keep doing that thing and think that you're going to get in a good space or you're going to feel better or you're going to do better or your anxiety is going to get better. It's not. You're going to stay right where you were. No progress will be had. Does it hurt when you're trying to get back right? Yeah. And I say that in any aspect because I've done it. It hurts. It don't feel good. It's not comfortable. And I'm weight loss, or if you're trying to get right financially, it's going to be some pain in the journey. And the reason why I want to talk about the actions is because I still hurt about my daddy. I still cry about it. My feelings about it have not changed, but my actions and what I was doing changed, and I seen progress with that. And I feel the same way about a lot of people who are digging themselves into holes with whatever it is that they're battling, because we all battle different stuff. And sometimes whatever you're battling, you might feel good about later. I'm never going to feel good about losing my daddy. But I tell you, you might feel good later about getting right financially when you see the results of that. You might feel good once you ain't got that anxiety and all this debt over your head when you don't have to deal with it anymore. If you didn't have that fear and that worry because you had a plan, perhaps that stress might go down. It's going to hurt. But you are going to come out better at the end if you follow the plan, you stick with it, and you get through it. Because in life, some pain is temporary and some pain is not. It might stick with you for some time. It might stick with you forever. But I truly feel like in this situation, it don't have to be that. Especially if you're the one causing yourself the pain.
People attempt to pay off their debt. People throw all of their money at their debt because of the story in their minds that they will be debt-free. We all hope to be debt-free. We all have been hopefully debt-free at one point or another. We have all slaved and put all of our money towards our debt. What happens when that cycle is endless and you never actually reach the point of having the disposable income?
Why do you get to that point? And why would that happen? Let's just think about it. Why would you never have any disposable income? So every time that you've got more income, you paid off your debt, you never have any disposable income. There's only a few possibilities, y'all. Disposable income is simply just income left over after you pay all of your expenses, your necessities. So if you get rid of all of that money on things that are necessities and you don't have any money left over, then you have no disposable income. But here's the thing. If you don't have a budget, if you have your income and you have your expenses and you just swipe your card and you don't pay attention, you are spending the disposable income. You're answering your own questions. And that's what a lot of people are doing. Most of the time, that's what they're doing. And then they're broke every month. We know somebody, I know y'all know somebody that's broke every single month. I know people like this in real life. They have no clue where their money is. You want to know why? If you ask them, what is your budget? What is left over? They have no clue. They don't look at where their money is going. Sometimes we are really our own worst enemy. Who needs an enemy? Who needs anything else to make it worse when we won't even look at our own income? We won't look at our bank accounts. But on the other hand, to be fair, you know what I hear a lot of other people say is, I only spend money on my rent. I only go get basic stuff from the store. I get off-brand everything. I go to the food pantry. Like, what am I doing wrong? I fear a lot of people want the sexy answer to that. But I'm going to give you the unsexy truth. The truth is you will either have to make more money or you're going to have to downsize your life because you might be living above your means still. If you're cutting it too close, where you're like, I only got $5 left over and I'm eating ramen noodles. What we have to realize is the truth because of the math. It's not anybody being insensitive. It's simple math. You have no other choice. We all have limited time. There are 24 hours in a day. You spend however many hours you spend at work clocked in getting to the money. Whatever you do in your discretionary time, that's on you. But whatever you make from said time determines your income. And if you don't want to go get another income to increase your standard of living or to have more discretionary money left over, that's a personal choice too. But we can't be confused about it. And I know people are going to be like, I shouldn't have to work 2 jobs. I feel the same way. How I feel doesn't matter when it comes to the math, though. The math is this. Live off of less than you make and you have extra money left over. You do what you want with that money. That's up to you. I fear we're looking for sexy answers when it's common sense. And we just have to think a little. Because we're the grown-ups. Some of us think we need to talk to a money expert. You need to talk to a financial advisor. Sometimes we just need to think. It's that simple. We just need to use our brain. Because some of y'all with kids Johnny had 2 apples and Robert had 2 apples and they combined the apples. How many apples do we have? Y'all can do all of that with the kids. But as soon as we talk about where is the money supposed to come from?
That cycle is endless and you never actually reach the point of having the disposable income. And the whole time you've been paying off that debt, you were using that disposable income on the debt. And then it just keeps getting farther and farther away because of inflation, because of emergencies, because you don't have an adequate savings account. You don't have an adequate checking account.
And it's almost like she's answering her own questions. You need your own adequate checking, savings, emergency account. Absolutely. Do that. If you are using your side hustle money to build these things up, it's a process, y'all. It doesn't happen overnight. And yeah, people have emergencies where you're going to have to tap back into that. You might have to replenish it. And that is why you don't stop. It's a constant until you get to where you want to get to. You keep on doing the thing. You don't just say, hey, I had to tap into my emergency fund after my tire went out. I saved that money up. What was the point? Like, now I got to go back. Yeah, you got to go back and keep doing it until you get to where you're trying to get to. Because everybody's goals of what should be in all these accounts is going to differ, especially when you have children. Your amount can't be the same as everybody else's amount, but you got to get creative. Y'all, like, just like with the housing market, when people be like, oh, creative financing, you might have to get creative about how to build up these accounts, how you're going to get your money, because everybody wants a blueprint on how to get money. If people knew how to get money, everybody would be getting money. Whatever gifts and talents you got to use them to go get the money. And everybody's gifts are different. Some of y'all have amazing gifts that I don't have. I have gifts that you can't have, you won't have, and that is fine. But you use whatever talents and gifts that God gave you, and you go out and you try to use that to make money. And you keep doing that until you reach the goals you're trying to reach. Now, if you want to be lazy, and I'm not saying she was being lazy, but it sounded like just her husband was working, it might take you longer to reach those goals, especially because life be lifing. And she's absolutely correct about inflation and things like that. It's going to make it a lot harder for people to sustain the goals and the money that they have saved up. Because as the cost of living goes up, those emergencies that you weren't expecting, the prices of goods and services have gone up too. And this is why it's important to also have your money making you money, which we talk about a lot here on this channel. Maybe you put your money in a high yield savings account and not a regular savings account. And you look at those percentages and those APRs and those returns and stuff like that. In order to have that money, try to keep up with the rate of inflation. And this is why financial literacy and education is important, because she's bringing up some great points here.
You don't have an adequate checking account. This point in my life, I strongly believe that I am putting myself and my family at more financial risk to be spending all of my money on my debt, to try so hard to budget on a shoestring and and only give myself X amount for food and miscellaneous tasks. Things are way too expensive right now for me to not have hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in my checking account just to cover food, just to cover rent, just to cover my kids need bigger socks and I got to go run to Target. Those purchases require disposable income. But every time you look at your bank and you see disposable income and you think, oh, I'm going to put that towards my debt because one day I might have no debt and I might have endless disposable income. You have the disposable income right now. Spend it on what you need to spend it on. Save things for the next emergency and just pay the debt when you can.
I believe this is how people stay in debt cycles. The optics. I'm just saying. The chandelier look like, ma'am, this is a nice little thing you got going on. And I know y'all like to be like, Symone, that doesn't mean that people are living above their means. I'm not saying she is. I'm just saying, the last video I watched, that woman said she had a fifth wheel. Are we too good for a trailer? I'm just asking, look, a lot of y'all are like, I don't know where the money's supposed to come from. Is it the mortgage? Is it the rent? Is it the community that you feel like you and your family should live in? Can you actually afford it? I'm not saying she can't. I'm just asking for the general public. Is there anywhere you can cut back largely that would help you and your family be able to have more discretionary income long term? Can you move back in with your parents? Oh, well, people shouldn't have to move. Can you move in with your brother or sister? Is there an aunt or uncle that will welcome you in? Yes. Is your grandma, would she let you come in with the kids for 1 year so you can stack some money, stack your bread, so then you could have this discretionary income that you say you don't know where you're going to get it from? This is a thing that a lot of people got to be willing to do, is hold it down until you reach that goal and then you can breathe. Y'all remember that one lady that was trapping them candy grapes that I did the video on? She was living with her mother-in-law with like 6 kids. Was it 6 or 7 in the possible? Anyway, she got kicked out of Section 8 housing and moved in with her mother-in-law and was saying, hey, I'm going to keep running my business and I'm going to stack money. She's married. She has a husband. They're going to save so much on what she was paying on rent or mortgage or whatever it was. Living in the house with her mother-in-law. Do it for a year. Do it for 6 months. But do something that makes sense. And when you actually look at the numbers, you say, hey, I could save $10,000 just by doing this? I'm rubbing my hands like Birdman. And I know. Everybody can't move in with their family, but if you can, why not? And additionally, why not just downsize your life?
You know, nothing is promised. Truly, we do not know what is around the corner. I think at this stage, politically, socially, financially, it's actually super risky to put tens of thousands of dollars into debt, which is not bringing anything back to you when we have no idea what is on the horizon.
What's interesting about that is she said that this says that was posted last year, April 2024. Well, now y'all know it's 2025.
And do you ever notice how absolutely miserable the stories are of people who did everything to pay off their debt in 1 year or 2 years? Like they live in their cars. They didn't go to their siblings' weddings. And couldn't get anyone a baby shower gift.
And so, oh, I'm looking for the care that I was supposed to have about not being able to do something. I wasn't able to get you a baby shower gift. I'm gonna be honest with you. That is not a priority to me when I'm swimming in debt. I'm not even worried about your baby shower. I don't even want to be at the baby shower, to be honest, because I'm trying to figure out how to get myself out of this situation. I got bigger fish to fry. Just think about when you really got real life going on. As an adult, why should we care about everything else that is just a distraction more than what we got going on in our own house? When did that become like a badge of honor to be like, hey, I know I'm doing bad, but I'm still showing up for you, giving you stuff that costs money, burying myself more in debt for show, for optics. Nice gestures are cool. Do it for the free. Do something that don't cost you money and that don't put you into more debt. And if they love you, they should understand, especially when you struggling to make ends meet. That sounds like you got a lot to kick it or something. Like you have to just be like, oh, I got gift money. I don't got it. I'm broke. Leave me alone. I have priorities. I'm living in my car. Though extreme to many people, I feel like those people are determined. I don't like that they have to do those things in order to get themselves out that situation, but I never look at somebody's determination and how it looks like a lot of struggle and the struggle that comes with it and be like, ooh, some people are living in their car to pay off their debt. You know how many people I've heard say that they're living in their car just so they can save money? I knew somebody that was doing stuff like that so they could have money to invest in the stock market. And it don't gotta make sense to everybody, but that's just how bad they wanted it. That's how bad they wanted to get out of that situation. And who am I to be like, are y'all okay? Some people got that dog in them. And I know a lot of people ain't used to seeing that. But financially, some people are willing to do anything.
They missed out on like tons of social events with their friends and family.
Oh, well.
Like they really make paying off their debt their entire personality. And I've been around these kind of people before. I'm sure we all have. But I just like, ew.
Girl with the ill. Now, granted, honestly, I can understand why she feels it's extreme. But it's not. Saying ill to somebody doing what they need to do, doing what people do when their back is against the wall, I don't know.
Sorry, that is just not for me, okay? I sacrificed enough just living through that being home for 2 years. Like, I'm not gonna miss anything.
Girl, what they said on the Kardashians, Kim. People are Kim. If being in the house for 2 years was the most that you suffered, man, what a blessing. And I'm glad. I don't wish struggle on nobody. And I know during that time it was rough for a lot of people, but ma'am, you just said people was living in their car.
It's like, I'm not going to miss anything because of money. I'm just not. You know, this could all explode tomorrow, and I have paid off debt before. I've been debt free. It doesn't feel freeing. It doesn't feel freeing when you don't have enough money in your bank account, when your retirement is not set, when you cannot afford random miscellaneous emergencies or just random miscellaneous needs that come up.
How do you get there? Do you get there by saying, I'm not missing out on anything because of money? Do you get there with that mindset? Just sometime, again, we are doing it. We're doing it to ourselves. No one needs, there is no system that needs to come against some of us. I'm not going to say us, actually. Some of y'all with the mindset. The mind is so powerful. Man.
There is this idea of financial freedom. Freedom is a feeling. It's not like there's no metric that we can say, oh, they are financially free for sure. I feel more financially free now with this mindset that like the debt's getting paid off. I need to make sure I have money in my bank account first than I ever did when I was slaving away to pay off all my debt.
Okay, well, what is financial freedom to you? A lot of people feel like financial freedom is when you don't have to trade time for money. Let's actually look it up. Now, we're using the AI overview because I went on a couple other sites and it pretty much says the same thing. Financial freedom is the state of having enough income or savings to cover your expenses and pursue your desired lifestyle without solely relying on a traditional job or income source. What did I just say? When you don't have to trade time for money, you aren't doing what? You aren't relying on a traditional job or income source because your money is probably making money for itself. Now, what she described as financial freedom, hey, she's entitled to her own definition. So if you have to keep working for your lifestyle and all your desires to be met, then you're not there yet. And that's okay. A lot of people are in their wealth building journey or they're working to become financially free. You can't be there with a bunch of debt and no savings, no plan, no nothing generating you more money, because your money is going to end up going to your debt and you're going to run out of money because you are still working for money, which is why you can't be financially free. It goes on to say, it's about having control over your finances and the ability to make life choices based on goals and values rather than being driven by financial constraints. That lady ain't being driven by nothing but financial constraints because she is not there yet. She does not have the savings, the emergency fund, the discretionary money that she says she wants. She don't have enough of it. Somebody in the household still has to work. So no, not financially free. In the process, maybe. But I can understand why that wouldn't feel freeing. That's why a lot of people like to invest or to start businesses or to have passive income streams. Those are the people that you typically hear say, I'm financially free, making money in their sleep, making money by not actually having to use their physical body to go get the money. The money is making itself. And it's not just stopping there. They're taking the money that they're getting from these income streams and investing a lot of this money into real estate, into stocks, into businesses, and they're making even more money and they're renting and repeating. And if they open a business, they're taking that money and putting it in the stocks, into more businesses, and they're doing it again. And then they're going and taking that money and putting it into real estate. At some point, they have all these different streams of income. And a lot of them might be passive to where they can just live off of that. That is the definition of financial freedom. Time is that one thing that you can't get back. Time is that one thing that is stopping a lot of people from doing the things that they want to do because their time is tied up in actively going to work to go get the money. They don't have time to vacation because they have to use that time to go to work to survive. And the same could be said about her whole situation. Time is just not on her side. There is not enough income producing streams for her to live this life of where she can just be doing the things she wants to do. That's the real problem. Time is slipping away from me. Yeah.
My credit card debt with no remorse really shows you the cult-like worship that people have with Dave Ramsey and being at zero debt. Not only is Dave Ramsey worship a cult, but so is neoliberalism. The argument that you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and if you don't, it's because you are lazy, you are weak, it's a moral failing. People on this app will literally come into my comment section where I'm talking about my debt and how I'm still choosing to live my life and pay for things that maybe aren't necessary, but that I want. People will literally come into my comments say, live off of one income. Like, why would I do that? I live in Los Angeles. I can't live off of one income. We have to live off both of our incomes. That's why we both work. Sell your house, sell your car, sell things on Facebook Marketplace, get a second job, get a third job. Why? Why would I make myself miserable because of debt? My debt's fine. She can stay there. She's getting her little payments. Like, she's fine. Maybe one day I'll light a fire under my ass and I'll see a time where I could potentially be completely debt free. In the meantime, I am spending, I am saving, I am minimum paymenting that debt. I'm not getting this time back. I could also literally pay off all my debt and the next day, or I could pay off all my debt and be in a car accident and have to be hundreds of thousands of dollars into medical debt. And I don't believe that any of you are actually doing any of this. I think you just like to come into the comments and repeat what you believe is the best thing to do, but there's no way you're actually doing it unless you live in an area where the cost of living is like $50,000 and you live in a mansion and everything's super comfortable. Until my income, my streams of income are high enough for me to pay off debt, save, and spend, the debt is like the third most important thing that I'm spending my money on. Publicly talking about my credit card debt with no remorse.
Boy, it's exhausting. Honestly, a lot of people's lives are how they are because of the decisions that they are making. And that's okay. As long as they like it, I love it. If they like to be in debt, sometimes if you give a little, you get a little. You give a lot, you get a lot. And y'all, the build up to all of this is very interesting, considering all the things that were said, because here on the screen, it says bankruptcy update. Now, all of those videos were from last year. Now, that was her mindset. Things may have changed, but this is this year as of March 10th. So we went from not caring about the debt to consolidation loans to bankruptcy update. So let's see.
A lot of people are facing unemployment right now. And when you are unemployed, it is the perfect time to file for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which is when all of your debt is forgiven, wiped out. Yes, you have a bankruptcy on your credit score. I promise you, you are not alone. You can still do things like purchase a new car, get a mortgage for your home. It obviously shows up, but it doesn't completely ruin your life. If you make above a certain amount of money, you will not qualify for a Chapter 7, and you can only do a Chapter 13, which is where they restructure the debt and you have to basically pay all of it back. My husband and I acquired a lot of debt in more 2021, 2022 than 2020. Just the loss of income from me having our son and then his loss. We just could not get back on track until I went back to work when my son was about 1 year old. So we carried that debt with us for years and years, and we were paying about $1,600 to $1,800 a month in debt payments. I would I don't even know what it's called right now, consolidate the loans and blah, blah, blah. And I had a banging credit score, but I was miserable. It was so much money. And when I finally learned about bankruptcy, I was like, why didn't I just do that when we were really struggling? Then our incomes were too high and I couldn't qualify for a Chapter 7. But guess who just got fired? It's terrible. But now that I'm unemployed and I'm pregnant with our third child, it's the perfect time to switch to Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So I'm really glad I found a bankruptcy attorney who I talked to so many bankruptcy attorneys. I was like, I want somebody who's going to accept this case like a defense attorney. Okay. I don't want you to hand it to your paralegal. And they're like, okay, this is how we always do it. I'm like, I want you to look through every single bank statement, every purchase, everything, and get me the best repayment plan. Well, now I don't need a repayment. Well, I might have to start with a 13 and then switch to a 7. We'll see. But for those of you out there who are unemployed, who are just suffering under the crushing weight of your debt, look into bankruptcy. It doesn't end your life. It doesn't take away your car. It doesn't take away your house.
Here are some things that people can do according to LendingTree to help them recover from bankruptcy. And these are 9 tips. One is cutting yourself some emotional slack. The second thing it says is find a budget that works well for you. It's important whether you're filing bankruptcy or not. Everybody should have a budget that works well for them. Number 3, start an emergency fund and live frugally. Number 4, monitor your credit report. And it says here a bankruptcy can stay on your credit report for up to 10 years. Now, that is something very important to consider because a lot of people who file bankruptcy actually have a lot of negative effects because they filed the bankruptcy, like not being able to get loans or cars, getting approved for housing, things of that sort. So I by no means want people to think that this is just something that's very easy, that might not have any adverse effects, even though I know a lot of people find this as a necessary step to their financial freedom, and that is okay. Number 5, avoid high interest debt. That and not changing your mindset could often lead a lot of people right back into bankruptcy, which is why this is very important. Number 6, don't job hop or move too often. It says here, after you declare bankruptcy, you have to prove to future creditors that you are now a reliable borrower. This is why I said earlier that can get a little sticky. There might be landlords or people in the leasing offices that might say, hey, we don't know about this person because they just swept everything under the bankruptcy. I've even seen it to where people owed their landlord money and that got swept under the bankruptcy. So this is something that is very important to consider how this can affect you and your family in the future. Number 7, save your bankruptcy paperwork, which I think is very important. Save all of your financial documents. Number 8, be strategic about rebuilding your credit. It goes on to state something very important. Rebuilding and improving your credit score doesn't happen overnight. You don't have to take out a bunch of new loans to do that either. In fact, taking on too much debt might lead to a second bankruptcy. This is why you need to be strategic. Pay your bills on time. Become an authorized signer on a credit card. When you're ready, get a secure card. And last but not least, it says stay informed, but don't get too obsessed with the numbers. And it's referring to a lot of people worrying about their credit scores, where it goes on to say, don't be discouraged if you don't see your credit score go up right away. Progress isn't always linear. But as long as you examine the reason that led you to the bankruptcy and work on remedying them, you should see positive movement. And that's what I think is very important with a lot of people who do end up using bankruptcy as something to help them on their financial journey if they got in a little too deep. So this means that people must examine the behaviors and the mindset that they had before they got into bankruptcy, because if they don't, it could lead them right back. How do you feel about paying off debt? Do you think that it should be a priority? What did you think about this whole story? And tell me, what did you think was the craziest part? And I need to know, do you think that bankruptcy is a good option for a lot of people? Or do you yourself see it as a get out of jail free card for bad financial decisions? And what did you think about these financial decisions in this video? But we got to start making better decisions today in order to have a better future.